Want a holiday decoration that's handmade and reusable year after year? Deck your halls with this gorgeous evergreen garland, handmade, timeless, and so easy to crochet. Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today I'm teaching you how to make this beautiful crochet evergreen garland with berries, a stunning addition to any mantle or doorway. It's festive, elegant, and perfect for the holiday season. To make your super easy Christmas garland or evergreen garland, you are going to need yarn. I'm just using regular size 4 worsted weight acrylic or 10 ply if you are in Australia. It doesn't have to be a fancy yarn. Any sort of yarn will work just great, and almost the scratchier the better. This is quite a soft yarn, but if you had a scratchier yarn or a more budget yarn, this is a great pattern to stash bust it. This garland is 6 feet long, and I used 400 grams or 4 balls of regular acrylic yarn to make it. I'll also be using a 6mm crochet hook. You will also need 1 stitch marker, a needle for sewing in your ends, and a pair of scissors. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To make your super easy evergreen garland, we're just going to start by making a slip knot and chaining the length we want our garland to be. So you don't have to worry about counting. There is no specific stitch count. I am making mine 6 feet long, so you're just going to chain for 6 feet, or however long you want yours to be. And a tip for chaining, if you are new to crochet, you do not want to tighten up your chain. So after you've chained, you don't want to pull on it and then crochet another chain. You want to leave it however it happened. See, it's a bit loose on my hook. You also want to make sure you slide it up to the fat part. Working into a tight chain is frustrating at best, so don't chain tightly. Just keep working along. Looser is better than tighter. So pause the video, keep working along, and I will meet you back when you have crocheted or chained the length you want your garland to be. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. For this tutorial, I'm just doing a little sample. So when your chain is the length you want it to be, we're going to count back 3 stitches. So there's our first chain, our second chain, and our third. This is where we're going to be working in, and we're going to be making our very first double crochet into that chain. You don't have to work into the back loops. You can work into the chain any which way you want. I'm going to be doing 3 double crochets into the same chain. There's 2, and here is 3. And now into each chain all the way along, we're going to be doing 4 double crochets into each chain. So if you're working in to the top of your chain, work into each top of each chain all the way along. If you're working into the bottom of your chain, also fine. Work into that all the way along. If you're working into your back loops, also fine. No one is ever going to see this starting chain, so it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to match anything. Just make 4 double crochets into each chain. 2, 3, and 4. If I'm going too fast or too slow, just slow me down with that gear on the screen, or pause the video and get caught up. So you can pause the video and keep working along 4 double crochets into each chain, and I will meet you when you get to the end over here. Also, don't worry if it starts curling up and being all twisty. It has to. That is what we want. So don't worry about it. 4 double crochets into each chain, and I'll meet you when you get to the end. When you've made your 4 double crochets into that last chain, that is the end of row 1, and we are ready to start row 2. To start row 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and turn your work. We're going to be working into each stitch all the way along. So instead of working into chains, we're working into stitches right there. And we're going to start with 4 double crochets into this very first stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and slip stitch into that same chain. So that is our first stitch done. Now into the next stitch, we're going to start with a half double crochet. So wrap your yarn, and into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and slip stitch to pin it down into the very same chain, 1 slip stitch. Wrap your yarn and into the next stitch, and every stitch, so this is what we're going to do all the way along. We start with a half double crochet, 4 double crochets, and a slip stitch to finish. So we're going to do that all the way along. Now a tip, and what we're going to be doing with this stitch marker, is pop that stitch marker into that first set you made. Because as you're working around, it might feel like you are not getting anywhere. It is taking forever. It's not getting any bigger. It's taking up so much yarn. If you pop in a stitch marker, you can visually see how far you've gotten, and it will really help keep up your motivation because you'll see how far you've gotten. So pop a stitch marker into that very first set we made, and then pause the video, keep working along. 1 half double crochet, 4 double crochets, and a slip stitch into each stitch all the way along until you get to the very end. Don't worry if it gets all twisted up and weird. It is supposed to. And also don't correct it. I know you can do a total spiral. You don't have to do a spiral. Just leave it as it is for a natural look. If there's a spot where you can see the chain, you can just bring some of those stitches over so it looks good on all sides. And that's all you have to do. So pause the video, keep working along, and I will meet you when you're at the very end, right over here. When you get to the end of your evergreen, just chain 1 to secure your yarn and cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And you could leave your evergreen bow just like this, or you can also add some cranberries. So now I'll show you how to make these super cute cranberries. So to make your cluster of cranberries, we're going to leave a little bit of a tail. We're just going to need this for knotting this onto our evergreen bow. So just about 3 inches ought to be fine. And then make a slip knot. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now into our very first chain, right there. Wrap your yarn, and we're going to start 5 double crochets, but we're not going to finish them. So start your first double crochet, so wrap and take off 2, leaving those last 2 loops on your hook. And we're going to do that again. So into the exact same spot, the exact same chain, we're going to start our second double crochet. So wrap and take off 2, leaving that last loop on your hook. I'm going to do that again. So this is number 3. Wrap and take off 2. Start your 4th double crochet. So just take off those 2 loops, and we want to do that one more time. So a total of 5 double crochets that we have started. And we have 6 loops of yarn on our hook. Wrap your yarn, just holding those stitches, pulling them down. Rotate your hook so your hook is facing down as well, the same shape as those stitches, and pull it through and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to start it right here, right on top of those stitches, that first chain we made right there. So wrap your yarn and start 5 double crochets again. So wrapping and taking off 2, that's our first. Wrapping and taking off 2, that's our second. Wrapping and taking off 2, that's our third. Wrapping and taking off 2, that's our fourth. Wrapping and taking off 2, that's our fifth. So we have our 6 loops of yarn on our hook, wrapping and turning our hook so it's facing down, pulling those center stitches and sliding our hook through. Now we're just going to put our hook right in to the other side, right where we began. So that same chain space, right where we made all those stitches in the beginning. So just slide your hook over there and slip stitch to form your first berry. Okay, there's our first berry. We're going to make, so if you just want one berry, you can chain 1 and cut your yarn and just attach that to your evergreen. But we're going to make sets of 3. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And into this very first chain right there, that is where we're going to start our berry. So wrap your yarn and into that first chain, start your first double crochet, start your second double crochet, start your third double crochet, starting your fourth. Did I get it? Got to get it through that last little loop. There we go. Our fourth double crochet and our fifth double crochet. So back to having our 6 loops. Wrap your yarn, pull those stitches, turn your hook, and slide your hook through all of those stitches and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to start the second half of our berry right into the top of this berry. So the second half is at the top. So starting 5 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 6 loops on our hook. Wrap and take off all 6 loops. And now we're going to slip stitch to the top of that first berry. See that space in here? Right, right where we started that berry. So we're going to go right into that same spot and slip stitch to join. So that finishes our second berry. And we're going to do that one more time. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to start our berry into the bottom of that chain. So that very first chain we made, we're going to start our berry. So we're going to start 5 double crochets. So there's our first, our second, our third, fourth, and fifth. Now you can pause the video and get caught up if I did that too quick for you. Wrap your yarn and take off all 6 loops and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now into the top of this berry, right there, because we're finishing this berry off, we're going to start all of our double crochets into the top of the berry. So wrap your yarn and start 5 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our 6 loops. Wrap and take off all 6 loops. And we have to match it up, join up that berry. So just slide it into that first chain and make one little baby slip stitch, just a small slip stitch. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. And now you can cut your yarn. We just want to leave a long enough tail to knot. So just maybe 3 inches will be fine. And shrink that down to secure. And then you could just massage your berries so that they match up. Each of them is going to have this cute little bottom opening, a little bit like a little raspberry, just like that. And now you can pause the video and make a whole bunch of them. You need approximately 3 per 1 foot of your garland. And you're welcome to make single ones or double ones or the triple ones that I showed you how to do here. It's the exact same thing. You just stop whenever you have enough berries. But 3 looks really great. Now to attach your berries, you can just kind of look at your garland, and if you have any of these open spots where your chain is sitting, you can just slide your crochet hook into that spot, grab a berry cluster, just loop one of those tails on and bring it through. Grab the second tail and give it a double knot, a really nice and tight double knot. That'll also get your berries looking like cute little clusters. It'll cinch them all together. And you could just knot it 2 or 3 times. And then just cut off those tails. Give your berries a little pinch so they look super cute. And then repeat that with the rest of your berries all the way down along your garland. Just looking for spots where it might be a little bit open, popping your hook in and attaching some berries. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.